Would you like to save on your energy cost and lower your utility bills at the same time? Then you need to call today your spray foam specialist at 275-2100. Studies by the U.S. Department of Energy show that 40% of a home's energy is lost as the result of air infiltration through walls, windows, and doorways. Insulation that is sprayed protects against moisture, which prevents the benefit of reducing the chance of harmful mold and mildew. Spray Foam Specialist provides customers with a proper assessment of all your insulation needs. Call Spray Foam Specialist today at 275-2100 for a healthier, quieter, and more energy efficient home. Spray Foam Specialist, Dublin.
We're at the DuBose Porter Center today with the Living Loud Youth Rally. Our theme this year is There is a Hero in You. We have students from West Laurens, East Laurens, and Dublin City here. We are teaching them about sources of strength and college access today. We have about 400 students that we host this event for every year, and we're just proud to have them here. This is hosted in part by the CSB of Middle Georgia, the Sources of Strength, Communities and Schools, and also this year we were fortunate to get the Oconee EMC Foundation grant that also helped us put this event together today, and we're just so happy to be here and to be with these students today.
There's a wheel behind me that many of you are familiar with because it should be in your school or be presented at different times. If you're a junior, you've probably seen it for at least the last 3 years, and sophomores a couple. It's our Sources of Strength wheel. This is a program that we coordinate throughout all of our school systems here in Laurens County. I'm going to give you just a brief definition of each of the components so you can become more familiar with what we're going to be talking about in a little while, and we're going to play a little game. We're going to call out some people to come up and spin the wheel and play a game with us. But the first component on the wheel, we usually start right here, start with family support. Like it was saying in that video too, so many of the things that relate to the components on the wheel relate to you and how you're going to need the resources around you, around this wheel, to be successful and to achieve your dream. So looking at family support, when we talk about this in a little bit with our game, it refers to positive relationships with one or more grandparent, sibling, parent, aunt, uncle, a relative. It doesn't necessarily have to be a blood relative. It can be someone that lives in your home or someone that you're very close to through your family network. Positive friends, and don't we need those? A lot of us. Friends who understand your stress and worry, who make you laugh, remind you how amazing you are, help you feel better about a tough situation, and help you focus on positive solutions. Mentors, coaches, teachers, family friends, older students, older adults, someone that you can talk to about ideas for solving problems or serve as a role model. Healthy activities, any kind of activity that gets you off the couch. Hiking, biking, dancing, sports, singing, playing games, eating well, and having a good nutrition. Being involved with programs in school. Generosity refers to volunteering, helping a friend, helping around the house. Forgiveness, contributing money to a fundraiser, joining a service club at school, such as Sources of Strength, Student Council, FFA, and you're familiar with a lot of the things that your school offers. Beta and Anchor and FCA and those types of things. Spirituality. It often, in our culture, it refers to going to church, but that's not necessarily the limit of it. It certainly has to do with that, maybe. but it involves with doing anything that makes you feel alive and happy. Practicing rituals, seeing the bigger picture in life. It can come from nature, church, meditation activities, free time activities that make you feel alive and happy, feeling connected to others, finding significance and purpose in life. Medical access, using emergency services like fire department, 911, hospitals, doctors, school nurses for medications during the day or help with stress or injury. And then mental health, medication to help with anxiety, depression, etc. Using counseling services in your school or community, participating in activities to reduce stress, eating well and having good nutrition, exercise, and practicing good behavioral health. My name is Kelly Kennedy. I didn't mention that in the beginning. I'm the school social worker for Dublin City Schools. Thank you. I'm the warm-up speaker for Michael Slaughter, who's my brother by another mother. And I want to thank you for allowing me the time to speak. I think the theme that we have this year, that there's a hero in you, is so appropriate for this group of students. I got to set my timer here because I've got to stay on time. And I hope that I can effectively share my story of how various heroes have helped me help shape my life, but also leave you with a greater understanding of how you can be a hero to someone near you. There's a quote that says, "Sometimes God redeems your story by surrounding you with people that need to hear your past so that it doesn't become their future." So I'm hoping that God is going to redeem the story of my past to help you. That means redeeming means to find value, to add value to it, to make it have worth. I can just about cover every component on the wheel when describing some of my life events, and I'll mention them along through my story if I can, if I remember. When I started working as a school social worker, I didn't think much of the duties being very challenging. I'd been a hospice social worker for many years, working with patients that were dying, and I thought, well, if you're working with people that were dying, that's about pretty much the highest calling that you can have. I remember telling my superintendent at the time that I took the job that I'll probably just do this for a couple of years and then move on to something else. Now I'm in my 18th year as a school social worker, and I can clearly see how blessed I have been to be a part of the lives of my students in Dublin schools. They have taught me a lot. Instead of me being the professional and the teacher and that type of thing, I learn a lot from my students. But one thing that school social work has done is placed me on a pathway to learn more about myself and my journey through my childhood in many ways, and seeing the lives and hearing the stories that some of my students that are living and going through reminds me of much of my past. I remember being told that when I became a school social worker that I need to attend our local council on child abuse prevention. It was a monthly meeting, and I said, no, I'm good. I don't need to participate in that. I won't be going to those meetings. And the person said, no, you will attend. It's your new job. It comes with your new job. So the next thing I know, we're going through training to be able to teach child abuse prevention to first, second, and third graders, elementary level students. And that was in our school system and yours as well. And I was thinking, we don't need to do this. This is a waste of time but to talk to young people, especially elementary kids, about child abuse prevention. But as we were taught in our training, to look for students that may reveal, a little boy raised his hand and he said, my neighbor gives me candy. And I knew what he was talking about, because we were talking about child sexual abuse and predators that look for children to trick children into doing things that are harmful. Or the little girl that learned to tell a teacher or a school counselor about the lacerations on her back from an extension cord whipping. And then I knew that we had to give them words, give them a language to speak for themselves. And then I began to understand how important school social worker was. My reluctance to participate in such organizations was in some ways to avoid dealing with the pains of my childhood, primarily living in a home with an alcoholic father. My father was a well-known man in Dublin, born and raised here, very, very military-minded. He was a commander of the local National Guard. Living with an alcoholic at best was unpredictable, and at worst was violent and scary. In those days, we didn't learn of things in school about DFACs. There weren't emergency shelters for women to go to and take their children to get away from violent or abusive situations. But now I'm very proud to be a part of those local agencies that help our children find words and find safety. Oftentimes, children that are raised in violent and abusive homes lose their voice to speak. They can't speak up against the adult that is causing the harm out of fear of retaliation and out of shame. It is essential to follow the family code of silence. And if you're in that situation, you understand what I'm talking about. The code of silence means no one talks to no one about anything. It's a family secret. You grow up thinking that all families must be like this until you reach a point where you start staying in other children's homes and you see that there are families that are normal, that have happy places to, or children have happy places to go home to. But you put your happy face on and keep on going. When my father would come home late at night, often if he came home late, that usually meant that he was out drinking with his buddies. And I remember being awakened from sleep, hearing arguments and often fighting between my parents, the shouting and screaming that would go on. And then I'd lie in bed trembling as a small child, afraid that he would come into my room. And many nights I'd cry myself back to sleep. And then there was the dance that my family did in the evenings, about 5 o'clock or so, when it was supposed to be time for my dad to get home from work. And you may not know what the dance is, but let me explain. It's when you hear the car pull up and the car door slam. You could almost tell what kind of mood he was in by the way the car door slammed. And we would just get up. No one would say anything, but everyone would start moving. And I'd call that the dance, where everyone would go in different directions until we could figure out what kind of mood he was in. Abuse can be physical, but it's emotional abuse that can often leave the deepest scars. It's the unspoken messages of feeling like you're unloved or unworthy or unwanted. It can have lasting negative impressions on your value and potential. It can make you question whether you want to wake up in the morning. The family turmoil abruptly ended during October of my senior year in high school when my father was killed in a car wreck. Living up to the true code of silence, I didn't learn until a few years ago. I'm 58 now. Just a few years ago, that the suspected cause of his car wreck was suicide by motor vehicle. No one talked. No one said a word. Unfortunately, fortunately, there were heroes along the way that I learned that I could go to just to feel safe. And I don't have time to mention them all, but I will mention just a couple. One was my grandmother. She was my spiritual mentor. She taught me the value of understanding who God is and how my strength could come from a source outside myself to cope with stressors. Then there was my scoutmaster. I was big in scouting, and my scoutmaster was like a father to me. Scouting gave me the opportunity anyway to go off on weekends and go on camping trips. It took me out of the house on weekends and gave me a fun and safe place to be. But also to be able to look at someone that was the ideal kind of father that my scoutmaster was, and I could learn traits from him of how I wanted to be one day when I grew up. So as I got older, I could look back and see many more heroes that God placed in my pathway without me even realizing their purpose at that time. Not by accident or coincidence, but placed there for a divine purpose. No one can say they got to where they are today totally by their own effort. You didn't get to where you are today by yourself. Someone, a teacher, a coach, a family member, a neighbor, at some point in time reached into your life and lifted you up in a particular moment to help you get to the 10th or 11th grade.
When is the last time you cleaned your heat and air ducts in your home? Do you suffer from asthma, or do your allergies get the best of you? Then call Edge Heating and Air, a division of Middle Georgia Mechanical today. Your home's air conditioning system is constantly circulating air throughout the home. That means dust, dirt, or pet dander is settling in your vents, and these fine particles travel throughout your home. They have a serious negative impact on the air quality, especially for people with respiratory issues such as asthma or allergies. If you're ready to improve the air quality in your home while saving money on heating and cooling costs, then call Edge Heating and Air, a division of Middle Georgia Mechanical today at 304-7011. Edge Heating and Air, Central Drive, East Dublin.
This has been a great day at the Porter Training Center. This youth rally every year is always an awesome event for our young people. It's great to be here with the 10th and 11th graders from our schools. And it was a special blessing, an opportunity for me to be able to speak to them today about some of my life events and things that have gone on to help maybe motivate them to make good choices, to seek out positive role models, positive friends, mentors, and those types of things to help them find solutions to life stressors too. So it's just been an awesome experience. I often have students that come to my office and they're ready to drop out of school. And I say, well, you're in the 10th grade or 11th grade or even the senior sometimes, and they're wanting to drop out of school. And I say, well, how did you get this far and now you feel like you can't succeed? And so we go back through some of the life events they've been through to try to figure out what would give them the idea that their potential has run out or that their life purpose has ended. Looking back, it was certainly that way for me. I had positive friends. I had family support, I had my spirituality, and these were just some of the components that supported me through difficult times. Later went off to college. I was the youngest of 3 children, but I was the first in my family to get a 4-year degree and a master's in social work. Amen. Moving on, when I was 26, I began having unusual health problems and doctors couldn't figure it out. After 4 months of biopsies and surgeries, on my 27th birthday, I was diagnosed with a rare and incurable autoimmune disease called Wegener's granulomatosis. It's nothing you would have heard of. It deteriorates your blood vessels and your sinuses and lungs and kidneys. And at the time I was diagnosed, there were only 6 known cases in Georgia, so there wasn't a whole lot of support groups out there for that. And there were very few doctors that understood the cause of it. There's no known reason for it to happen. But my doctor told me on my birthday he had good news and bad news. The good news is that they were able to diagnose the disease. The bad news is that there's no cure for it, and it has a 6 months life expectancy. Well, I was figuring up, I'd already been having health problems for 4 months, so that gave me about 2 more months left to do something. And that's not really what I wanted to hear. That's not what my friends were into. You know, I had some bigger plans to accomplish by that time. But then he said, there is good news. There's an experimental drug course of chemotherapy. There's no guarantees, but it's something that you can try. And I said, I'll take it. I'll do anything I can to try to live longer. So for the next 9 years, I took chemotherapy twice a day until in 1983, I was declared in remission of my disease, but certainly not cured because there is no cure. There's a 50% relapse rate, but so far I've been able to live a probably better than average life. So for the past 31 years, medical access, positive friends, family support, spirituality, mental health, generosity, healthy activities, All these things on the wheel have been very important to me. I have a little scar that runs across my forehead from one of the surgeries that I had to deal with. That is a reminder of how fortunate I am and how blessed I am. Every day when I look in the mirror, I can see the scar across my forehead, and I can be reminded of my purpose for living. Two other major events that I won't have time to go into that came shortly after that. 3 years after I was diagnosed with my disease, my brother was killed in a plane crash. 2 years after that, my mother was diagnosed with cancer and lost that battle 9 years later. So in dealing with that on the wheel, the mental health was certainly to help deal with the grief of those two issues, and family support and positive friends, all those components helped me get through those difficult times. And one of the biggest, and now it's still the most continuous, I guess, major life event to happen to me came when I was 35. I have to mention my own family at this time. I have to end on a happier note than what I've just talked about. So quick and to the point, I decided that I was going to be single for the rest of my life. At that point, I still had this disease thing going on and wasn't sure the course that it was going to take, and wasn't sure that I wanted to bring anybody into that situation in my life. So just as a note to remind you, if you want to hear God laugh, tell Him about your plans. Tell Him you got it figured out for Him, that He doesn't need to bother you right now, that you'll make it just fine. But I did two things that I said I was never going to do after this disease and things came up. I said I would never go on a blind date. And not only that, I would not date any women with children. So I did two things that I said I wasn't going to do. I went out on a blind date with a lady that was set up with me through someone that we mutually knew. And she was also a widow. Her husband had died a couple of years earlier, and she had 3 children. And I'm thinking, what is God doing with this? Totally against my rules. But 10 months from the time we met, we were engaged. 17 months from the time that we went on our first blind date, we were married, and I was walking out of the church with my wife and 3 children. Yeah. Never tell God never. 2 big adjustments that I thought I had a handle on was being a father and a husband. I said, I got this. I had the idea in my mind what an ideal family should be. It was mostly what mine wasn't, and I knew I felt like I could have the skills to change things and make those things become a reality. I had a degree in sociology and a master's in social work. How hard could it be to become a husband and a dad? If you might have heard the term blended families, and that's a term that's used a lot nowadays with so many families that come together with children already in place. I called mine a blender family because I felt like that from the day that we all got back to the house that I was living in, it was like turning on a blender and everything just started spinning. I enjoyed getting home from work with the kids, running up to my car and saying, acting happy that I was home. I'd never had that before. That was awesome. But then there was the other side of this blender family, and I'm thinking, who are these kids or who are these people in my house? And this woman that I'm married to that's wanting to change everything about the way that I was living. I had a nice bachelor pad. It was good. I thought everything was adequate. I thought the kitchen looked fine. But shortly after we married, she decides that all had to go. The colors in the rooms had to be changed, and the furniture was all gone. So be prepared, guys. It will happen. And then the simple things were happening. Toys all over the floor, and you're stepping on things in the night. And where's my toothbrush? Why would somebody take my toothbrush? And of course, the children, none of the children would admit to it being taken until I go out in the garage and I see that it's been used to clean the tires on a bicycle. But those are small things. And then there's nowhere to hide. You know, when you have 3 kids in the house, you can't find any peace and quiet. Even if you go in the bathroom, they're coming talking to you under the door. Dad, are you in there? Are you? When are you coming out? And sticking their fingers in the door like they can try to reach you. But there's nothing more powerful at showing your inadequacies than being married with children. It's hard work, but like the video was talking about, anything that's worth it is, anything of value is worth working toward. And it's worth every moment of losing any of my selfishness to pour value into their lives. And now I'm blessed with my 3 children, and I have 3 grandsons and 1 granddaughter that'll be coming next month. That's all. So maybe it's been your life experience to be a young man or woman in a home similar to the one that I described. Let me tell you clearly that you are not an accident. You may be like me, an unintended pregnancy, but regardless of man's plans, it doesn't change the fact that there's a higher power that has a divine plan for your life. I challenge you to seek that fact out. I wish I could erase any thoughts out of your head that challenge your perception of your true value and potential, because my higher power don't make no junk. Let's get back to the theme of this event I want to close with. There is a hero in you. There's no doubt that when you leave here today, you go back to your school or community, there will be someone that may be dealing with a personal crisis that you may or may not even know about. But you have the ability to speak life into someone's situation. So I'm challenging you to stand in the gap with that person. Be a mentor in the moment with that person. Show generosity toward that person. Be a positive friend to someone that sits alone in the cafeteria. Invite someone to do a healthy activity with you. Be a hero. Being a hero doesn't stop after you graduate from high school. There will be divine opportunities along the way for you to make a choice to be a hero in someone's life, and I encourage you to take those opportunities. The best way to predict your future is to create it. Life isn't about finding yourself, it's about creating yourself. Creating yourself may involve forgiveness of someone that has wounded you. Learn to forgive them. It's hard work, but never give up. As I said in the beginning, sometimes God redeems your story by surrounding you with people that need to hear your past so that it doesn't become their future. And hopefully that has been true today. So from this day forward, I want you to keep this challenge in your mind. Treat today as a new book with blank pages, and do your best to write a bestseller. Thank you.
Tax Time America has been bringing customers all their credits for more than 16 years. Tax Time America has provided our community with friendly, professional tax preparation and is always up to date on IRS rules and regulations and on the Affordable Care Act. Depend on Tax Time America, an authorized e-file provider, registered tax preparer, and a member of the Associated Tax Professionals. Tax Time America brings experience and ethical practices to you with no money out of pocket. Get your $750 tax advance. Call Tax Time America now at 274-8181. Tax Time America Income Tax Service, located at 103 High Street in the Northside Shopping Center just off North Jefferson, bringing customers all their credits for more than 16 years. Call Tax Time America now and ask about your $750 tax advance. 274-8181.
Greetings, this is Keith L. Brown, Mr. I'm Possible, the official host and MC for the Living Loud Rally right here in Dublin, Lawrence County, sponsored by Communities in Schools, Community Service Board, also Sources of Strength, and Oconee EMC Foundation. This has been an honor and a privilege to watch the adults, the servant leaders, empower and inspire these young people today, building them for academic excellence, cultural and social awareness, leadership and life skills, and most important, college and career exploration. This is a day where these young people understand that they will graduate, they will go on to earn degrees and have a degree of success and significance in their lives. Not impossible, I'm possible each and every day with Dublin, Lawrence County. It's been a great day, and it usually is.
All right, first of all, hush. First of all, before I start talking, promise me you guys won't go all or anything because you're gonna make me cry and I'm gonna cut the story short. Can we make that promise? Well, we're gonna do it because I'm gonna ignore it. All right, how many of you guys wanna be rich? Raise your hand if your goal is to be rich. Yeah, I see all y'all raise your hand. Rich is money, right? All you guys want money, right? Look, I'm rich and I'm a school teacher, and I'm gonna tell you right now, we don't make enough. I'm rich because back in my old life, I was saved. I'm blessed beyond belief. I'm gonna put her first because if I don't, I won't hear the last of it. I'm blessed because I got a beautiful wife. I chased this girl around maybe for a year. She never even knew my name or I existed. Like, she's beautiful. Can't get anything better. Secondly, I'm blessed beyond belief because I can call somebody my mama, not my mother. Yes, I love my birth mother. I mean, she brought me into this world. I'll still do anything to her for her to this day. But my mama, my second superwoman is Jenny Green. That's my mama. And, all right, so I work for this thing called Community Service Board, right? Community means everything to me because to me, that's my family. It started out, I graduated college, got my bachelor's 4-year degree. I'm struggling, moving back in with my mom. Man, my mom had this little talk about, your nest. You always can come back to the nest, Mike, when you need help. But you need to get a job. It's time for you to do things on your own. I was blessed by Community Service Board because they gave me my first job when I thought I would never work a day in my life. So, yes. So I want to thank Tina Clements, first of all, for being my first boss. Her and Marnie Brads were fighting on me on a day in and day out, and Denise for giving me this chance to come back to speak to you guys, and Lisa Mama, all Community Service Board, I appreciate everything y'all done for me. Y'all started me out. All right, so that's the good in me. You guys look at me and say, man, Mike got it all. I got a couple guys in this room right now think I got every polo. Well, there was a time in my life I didn't have any of that. So I'm going to touch on some stuff, and I'm going to try to speed to it because I do not want to cry. I don't want to cry, so please don't say all. All right? Hush. All right. A little background on myself. I was born and raised in Vincent Village, Southside, you name it. I was in the streets all day, every day. Yes, I feel you, boys. I hear you. I feel you. I feel you. Hey, but that life don't mean nothing. Everybody goes through something where you ask yourself, why am I here? I ask that question because I'm going to speak on things that's going to touch on everything that Mr. Kelly did, who did a phenomenal job, by the way. Everything he did. He spoke on everything in his will. And one thing that touched me is that, he spoke on how he had children that called him dad, but he wasn't their real dad. That's the same situation with me with Jenny Green in this community. I call a lot of people my mama. You just got to get used to it. So I'm going to just touch a little bit on my past. Like I said, I was born and raised in Vincent Village, Southside. Me and my mom had a gun. We had the food stamp, guys. We got groceries every freaking month. We had groceries we just had them, okay? Well, my mom, she started dating this guy. She started dating this guy. This guy, he wooed my mama. He spit the game to her, and he took her. When I say he took her, I mean he literally took her. Like he took her from her kids. Nope, don't do it. I'll stop, I'll walk off right now, I promise. He took her from her kids. My mama no longer cared about whether me and my sisters had another meal. She cared about pleasing this man and getting money for him to do his little dice thing in the cut in Vincent Village, or whatever you want to call it, all right? So time passed, my mom got beat. I stayed with my grandmom. I stayed with my dad's mom, which is also Jenny Green. And I want to say this too. I have to put this in because I can't forget about the big guy. The big guy is Clifford Grunto, who's my boss. I used to sleep on his couch throughout high school. He took care of me when I thought I had no one. Him and his family, Noah Grunto, I just love them all. All right? Don't clap yet. I'm not done. Like I said, time passed. Me and my mom then moved over there on Smith Street, close to Southside, because we lived in Katy Dudley and everything. So we moved to Southside, and I remember my grandma who passed away telling my mom, you don't need to move with that man. That man's trying to get you away so he can control you and beat you. I'm listening to this as a child, and I'm thinking, why aren't you listening to your mother? Your mother's trying to give you advice. He's beat your tail every week when he even thought you said something wrong. So we moved to Southside. Not Southside, well, Smith Street. Anyway, so this man started beating my mom even more. I grew angry. I felt like no one cared, so I started doing things that no one can imagine. I can go to West Lawrence right now and probably Dublin City Schools, and they can say Mike Slaughter is probably the best kid they ever know. There's a dark side of me that nobody knows, and I want to tell you because I prayed before I came up here. I want to touch somebody. Don't make the same mistakes I made because it's not worth it. I promise you that right now. So I started hanging out with my cousin. I'm not going to mention his name, but he was in this little so-called gang called Blood. They jump people in all the time. I don't claim Blood. I don't claim anything, first of all, because it's stupid. Anyway, so, all right, stop. So I started hanging out with this cousin. This cousin of mine, because I tried to get away from the home life because my mom getting beaten, I couldn't do nothing about it. I'm a small guy. I'm still small. Probably the same size when I was 2 years old. Haven't grown any. So he started beating my mom, and I had to get away from that because I knew this guy was bigger than me. I can't beat his tail. I got to learn how to fight. I got to learn how to defend for myself. I got to protect my sister. My mom's going to do her own thing, but I got to protect this little girl that has no dad. So I started hanging out with Marquis. I said his name. So there used to be lots of fights in Southside. He took me to every single fight and told me, Mike, which I hate the name Mike because it reminds me of a past that I don't want to read. I don't want to go back to unless I'm trying to mentor you guys and mentor the young others that's coming up to be you. So he would take me to this fight and he would tell me, Mike, you lose this fight, we're going back to the room or the house, whatever, and I'm going to beat your tail. This was, when I say big, it was a fat, big dude who I couldn't get away from. I'm small. Like I said, I probably haven't grown since I was 2. Same size. So he would take me to every fight. So I learned the life of the streets. I learned the life of fighting. I've stolen plenty of things. I'm not going to name it all because, that's the past. I don't want to go back there. I beat guys up just for saying something to my sister, even though they was probably saying, they feel sorry for us. They wanted to help us. I would beat a guy down. It took me not one time to realize if you say something to me, I don't give a crap how big you are, I'm going to bust you. I was always willing to fight because that's how I took out my anger. I was always willing to steal because that's how I took out my anger because I feel like nobody cared about this guy. I got introduced to the life of guns, which is also my worst fear. Story to tell you guys. There's a young man who passed maybe when I was in 12th grade. Little do people know the young man that passed away died because he joined the gang and got shot. Before he joined that gang, I was one of the guys that held a gun to his head. Nobody knows that because I don't tell it. So here's the story. I got this best friend. How many of you in here think you are hard? You won't back down for nobody. Raise your hand. If you're that tough, you won't back down for no one. I'm going to go ahead and tell you right now. I'm going to go ahead and tell you right now. When it hits the fan, I promise you right now, all you would tuck your tail and run. It's not about fighting. You got to listen to the point. Listen to me. Listen to me. Let me speak. It goes back to I thought I was a hard person. I'm standing right here because this guy had a purpose for me. And I don't know what it is still to this day. He reveals little things to me every single day. This guy jumped the guy that me and my best friend hung out with every single day. Him and like 20 other boys. And this is me back in Vincent Village in Southside, going to West Lawrence. Many of my teachers don't even know this, and they're probably hearing this for the first time right now. My wife heard it for the first time 2 nights ago because I said, should I speak on this? I text Tina asking, you know, can I get real with you kids because you kids like what's real. You can pick out a fake person any day. I'm not going to be fake with you. So we on Vincent Village, we're in this front street, right? My best friend and I said, you know what, Mike, I'll be right back. He goes, does whatever, we're hanging out, we're playing, you know, deuces, tonk, whatever you want to call it, we're doing it all. He comes back, opens up a bag, he has 2 guns in the bag. He said, we're finna go get this N-word. I'm not gonna say it because I'm not gonna be that vulgar, okay? That's stupid too, by the way. So we get these guns, and we're walking around Studs Park. We go to Southside, we go over there to Oconee Gym. I mean, we're doing everything, looking for this guy, we can't find him. Later that night, we go to the front streets of Vincent Village. We find this guy. Not saying anything. This is before he died now, maybe a week later, a weekend later. He walks up to the front street with his boys. We're thinking, it's 2 of us and maybe 20 of them. First thing we did, take out our gun and started pointing. Sideways, whatever you want. We started pointing. This guy thought he was a hard guy. The biggest thing happened, guys, is 20 of them and 2 of us. We're in that face point going, we could have got hit from behind. They're surrounding us and everything. We're pointing a gun at this one guy. He tells us, Mike, you know we're best friends, man. I didn't mean to jump that guy. He tried my girl, so I had to do him. You know, we kind of like settled the argument. We're still, that night, talking. All of us, you know where the 4-way stop is in Vinceville? I know pretty much y'all know. Well, anyway, we're at the 4-way stop. Me and my boy, we're sitting there, we're kicking it, we're talking. My best friend and I, we still have these stupid guns on. They had no bullets, don't even know who they were registered for, which you can go to jail, guys. It's stupid if you do that. Please don't do it. So we're sitting there. Now, this cop pulls up, black cop, rolls down this window. We're thinking, oh, man, we're fine. He looks at us and says, get the F off my sidewalk. My best friend said, what? He said, you heard me, get the F off my sidewalk. It's 10 o'clock. You boys need to go home. My best friend started talking at the mouth because that's all he does. That's all he knows. Cop stops his car, steps out, tells both of us to put our hands on the car. We got guns on us at this time now. We don't even know where these guns come from. No bullets, but they're not registered. So there's my life right there. That's my life. That's how fast I could have lost not standing here talking to you guys right now. That's how fast it can happen, and that's how stupid I was when I was making the decisions I made. Luckily, me with my personality, because I'm a people's person, I grabbed a cop. You don't ever touch a cop, by the way. That was a mistake. I grabbed a cop, talking to him, saying, man, let me talk to him. Let me talk to him. I got him. I promise you, I got him. We got off scot-free that night. I just want you kids to know, with me trying to prove that I'm hard, going to pick up guns, nothing happened, but it could have. I could have not met this woman, and I could not have met this woman, and I could not have my first ever job I've ever had in my life, and I could not be talking to y'all right now.
If you're suffering from a non-healing wound, we have good news. The Downtown Dublin Wound Center offers advanced treatments, experience, and state-of-the-art technology, including hyperbaric oxygen treatments for healing most any wound, even those that won't respond to conventional treatment. Call us today at 410-3500. Let Dr. Davis and his staff get you on the road to recovery. Downtown Dublin Wound Center, 124D West Madison Street, downtown Dublin.
Hi, I'm Jackie Pittman Curtis, the Executive Director of Communities and Schools of Lawrence County, where we have been helping kids to help themselves since 1999 here in Lawrence County. We're so excited to be here again for our annual event, Living Loud. We're happy to partner with CSB and Sources of Strength because we know how important it is to make sure that children have every possible tool in their toolkit to be successful. We just want the kids to enjoy themselves, to learn a lot, and to go home challenged and inspired.
I'm blessed beyond belief. I'm so blessed. I've come back. There was a time when me and my sister, we had no water in our house. We shared cable and lights from my stepdad's sister next door. We had orange cords, guys, we had orange cords coming out the window, under the house, to the next house next door, just so we can get some type of power. We had a hose pipe one night because we didn't have any running water. We had just lost cable because I remember watching The Rock wrestle on WWE and our power shut off. Everything shut off. They cut our water off. The city just was like, they don't play no games, you don't pay them bills. You're done. You're done. So We run a long hose pipe, maybe 2 or 3 of them from the next door. We're taking a bath on the back porch with a hose pipe and dish detergent. You know, I sit here and I look at it, and I'm sitting here talking to y'all. I wouldn't take any of that back any day because it made me the man I am today. I'm going to tell you how, I'm speaking on spirituality. There's a lot to my story, and I don't want to take up too many people's time. I'm going to go back to when I first was saved. Think about the stories I told you. Think about the life I fought. I've done everything bad because I feel like this dude didn't care about me. I hear about him, but I don't see him. He ain't done nothing for me but take my mom from me. He took my sister from me. We were taken from my mom in 5th grade. I came home one day. We had the dirtiest house on the block. I came home one day. That house was clean as I don't know what because nothing was in it. The state put us out. The city put us out. Curry put us out because he wanted his money and we didn't give it to him. So we're out on the streets. So time goes on. I go through West Lawrence. I'm meeting new teachers, counselors. I got 2 of the best counselors here, by the way. I'm not knocking everybody else, but they're just part of the community that I call my family, just like every other teacher in here. Coach Howell, of course, knows a story about my best friend that if I tell it right now, he'll probably get mad at me, so I'm not going to say it. But I started joining this church called Cadwell Baptist. I'm the only, no, Morocco Blast was in there. 2 black guys in this one church. They asked a black guy to go on a church trip to a lake. I couldn't swim. I mean, I remember getting on this church trip. They giving me a life jacket. I had floaties on, guys. I'm an 11th grader thinking I'm tough, and I got little floaties on going down a river that came up to here because I'm thinking I'm going to die. So later that day they had this idea, let's go to a movie. We went to a movie. I remember it was Cars. We went and watched Cars. And that was a good movie. We left the movies, and then the group met together that night for devotional. We prayed and everything. I'm not praying because I don't believe in him. He ain't showed me anything. I question him all the time. I know they say you're not supposed to question God, but every day I ask myself, if you're not supposed to question, how are you supposed to know? Just like you students. If you don't understand it, and I tell you you're not supposed to ask me a question, how are you supposed to understand? You're not. You just get frustrated and you shut down. Well, not me. I'm going to ask a question because I'm defiant and I'm doing things I don't really believe in. Well, anyway, we go to the lake, and they had this little big old floaty thing that you can jump off and knock people up into the lake. I'm thinking that looks cool, but I forgot my floaties don't have a life jacket. They're saying, Mike, come on out here, man, come on. I'm like, no, I'm not coming out here because I told them I can swim. I couldn't swim. They should have known that when I asked for floaters and a life jacket. So I'm sitting here, I mean, it's a dock, guys. I'm sitting here at this dock. The kids are in this, like, they had a dock here and then a section off area for the little kids that maybe got to 3 feet. You can see the sand and the water gets dark because that's 3 feet and that's supposed to be the deepest part for the little kids. Little kids asking me to get in there. I'm saying, man, screw this. I'm going back to the room. So I'm walking back to the room, and the whole time, people, I'm sitting there. I'm cursing him, and I'm asking him and saying, all right, you've taken my mom. You've taken my sisters. I can't talk to them. You've given me this life where once I get back to Dublin, if I do something else, you let me off plenty of times, I'm probably going to go to jail and I'm going to lose everything I've done. Because at that time, I thought about just surviving. Survivor of the fittest, guy. I wanted to be the man that beat the man. Nobody will challenge me because I want to fight That's stupid too. Fighting is not worth it. So I'm walking back to the room. I'm cursing, and he's just, I'm like, if you want me to believe in you, you're going to have to show me today. Because all my life, all you have ever shown me was disappointment. I'm a kid, and I had to take care of another kid. That's not my life. I had to grow up too fast. So I'm walking, and I'm like, you're going to have to show me today. You're going to have to show me. I'm here. You embarrass me. I can't swim. I mean, I'm on this church trip. Why the freak am I here? Show me. That's what I said. So I get back to my room or the little cabin or whatever. Pastor Al Haywood was sitting at the table. He was praying. He looked up at me and he said, Michael, I was just praying because I want to know when I can talk to you. And I said, that's funny because I was just sitting here cussing out God and I didn't believe in none of this. So we sit at the table, guys. We pray. I cry. I tell him a little bit of the story like I'm telling you. I got saved that day. That's the day I will never, ever forget. So after I got saved, eventually, I started going to church more. I started doing Sunday school. I started doing Wednesday night services. I started getting more involved. I lost a lot of friends during that time. The main thing I heard was Mike was getting soft. Mike don't care. Mike don't F with the homies no more. Mike don't do this. Mike don't do that. Little did they know I wasn't Mike anymore. I was Michael Slaughter. So I'm going to stop because I'm getting a little soft right now, like they said. What I want to tell you, like Mr. Kelly said, I may not be her birth child, but one day my child will be calling her Gigi. Stop. She's changed my life, and so has she. This is my last story, and I promise, and I'll get to my point because I know I'm probably wasting time. She don't know my very first Christmas with Austin Green, Jenny Green, Judd Green, and Evan Green. I still remember. This is when I finally moved into the house. They gave me my own room, gave me my own bed. I mean, I had a flat screen TV. I was living life. Really didn't think I was going to get that far. So it was the night before Christmas. I'm probably finna embarrass him, but Austin Green still believed in Santa Claus and believed in elves. I mean, he believed in it. So it got to the point where we almost was threatening to give that joker a NyQuil just so he can sleep. So we're getting ready to go to bed. Mama and Dada downstairs. And I started saying Miss Jenny, Miss Green. She stopped. She turned around. She stopped when she paused. And I was still staring at her. She turned around, she looked at me, she said, Michael, come here. And I'm thinking, ain't what I've done. What have I done? She looked at me, she said, you call me Miss Green or Jenny Green again, or Miss Jenny, whatever, I'm going to lose my mind, I'm going to beat you. So I'm thinking to myself, what can I call her? That was my very first Christmas, and the very first time since I was in 4th grade that I was able to call anybody mama. So, stop. Nope. So, my point, guys, like Mr. Kelly said, you can speak on every source on this wheel. You can go out there and make bad choices. But until you find yourself, you'll forever be lost. There's help out there. There's people that's willing to talk. I'm pretty sure everybody has someone they look up to. Go to that person. Tell them how you feel. You tell that person how you feel, they will in turn respond with a story that's pretty similar to yours. So, back to my beginning. Spirituality saved my life. Because I'm no longer Mike, like I said, I'm Michael Slaughter. I'm my own person. Nobody can tell me what to do. Maybe. But I'm here today because I took that leap of faith to believe again after being taken. All right, I won't hold y'all anymore, but like I said, man, take that step. It may hurt, it may question your pride, people may call you soft, but since I took in that faith, guys, I graduated school, I got a bachelor's degree, I will graduate in December with my master's degree in education. And I'm the head coach at a school that I love because it's part of the community that I love. I love every student. But I'm teaching. I'm having a chance to mentor kids, and I love every bit of it because those kids are my boys. Those girls are my girls. That's my family. I'm going to take care of them. I appreciate you guys.
You know, Michael was great, and as a native son, he did an amazing job as a transformational leader, being transparent, telling his story, being real and upfront with the young people, and showing how he went from, in essence, being remedial to remarkable. He talked about how there was a support system for him right in Dublin, Lawrence County. And it's not always your biological family, but those who step up to the plate to mentor you. So it's very important that we practice mentorship and have those partnerships and those friendships and build those relationships. And Michael did a great job today through Sources of Strength, exemplifying him that. And we're very proud of that young man who turned out to be a prospect and not a suspect.